An airplane is flying with passengers on board. A man named Sean is playing a game on his phone when a flight attendant warns him that it could interfere with the aircraft's navigation system. Sean explains that people no longer believe such things. Ben jokingly apologizes to the flight attendant, saying that he hit his head when he was a child. Suddenly, the plane loses electrical power, and the captain explains that they are experiencing a short circuit caused by massive electrical activity above the stratosphere. It turns out Sean and Ben are on a business trip. Ben explains that if Russia agrees to the deal, they could earn $10 million overnight. When they arrive at the meeting room, Skylar stops them and asks what they are doing there, saying that they are not needed. Ben insists that it was his idea, and Sean explains that his friend spent $12,000 developing it, plus airfare to get there. Outside, two women, Natalie and Anne, are taking photos in front of Pokrovsky Cathedral. Later, at a nightclub, they seem unenthusiastic until Skylar approaches them and explains everything. Ben points at the two women and discovers from a blog that they are stranded in Moscow and need help. When two men approach them, Natalie and Anne try to scare them off by saying they are lesbians. Sean and Ben introduce themselves, and while taking photos together, the lights suddenly go out. Everyone rushes outside and looks up at the sky where many lights are falling. One light splits into 5 and one lands in the middle of the crowd. A police officer approaches and tries to touch it with a baton, but his body is sucked in and disintegrates. People run in terror. Another officer shoots at it, but the bullets shatter upon impact. The creature scans the crowd, seeing humans as bioelectromagnetic beings, and captures several people who try to escape. Inside, a bartender throws Molotov cocktails at the creature. It stops, emits a sound, and the fire appears as a white light to it. The bartender keeps throwing Molotovs, enraging the creature, which fires back. Sean calls for Ben, and they escape into a storage room. Natalie hears knocking and opens the door. It is Skylar. They hide there for several days. Once they feel safe, they leave and plan to reach the embassy. The city is silent, filled with abandoned vehicles and scattered weapons. They move carefully through the empty streets. They cross a bridge, but it has been destroyed by a warship, forcing them to take a detour. They find a police car, and Sean and Ben open the trunk to take a map and flares. A dog starts barking and is instantly disintegrated. The creature notices Sean behind the car and approaches. They hide underneath as the car's lights turn on and the siren begins to blare. At a mall, they reunite with the others and see an airplane that made an emergency landing inside. Sean explains that electricity reveals their location, and Natalie adds that daylight is extremely dangerous. Sean says they must move at night and use hanging light bulbs. While choosing clothes, Sean accidentally sees Natalie changing. He looks away, but suddenly his expression changes. The creature passes in front of him without noticing, revealing that it cannot see through glass. Natalie hides in a clothing store, but someone grabs her. Sean pulls her behind the glass. They warn the others that the creature is inside and rush out of the building. Outside, many parked cars have their lights and alarms activated. They reach the embassy, only to find it abandoned. Inside, Skylar picks up a machine gun. As debris falls from above, he opens fire. They climb to the rooftop, light oil lamps, and find a radio inside a birdcage. Adjusting its hanging position changes the frequency, and they hear a Russian broadcast repeating over and over. From the rooftop, they see many alien lights and realize they are surrounded. They hear gunfire below and look through a rifle scope. Skylar is outside. Sean and Ben go out to stop her because Skylar understands Russian. Natalie spots car headlights turning on in front of Skylar and tries to warn them. Natalie runs out while Anne takes the radio from the birdcage. Ben calls Skylar back. The car lights turn on and alarms blare. Skylar is surrounded and tells them to run, fires at the creature, grabbed from behind and killed. Sean notices a light on inside a nearby building and leads the group there. Inside, they meet a woman named Vika who threatens them. She knocks on a door, and a man named Sergei tells them to come in quickly and locks it. The room is surrounded by steel bars that protect it from external electrical currents. Vika explains that the repeating radio broadcast is from the Russian Navy, a nuclear submarine in the Moskva River that will depart the next morning. She takes Natalie and Anne to gather supplies, while Sergei shows Sean and Ben a weapon he created. He explains that it fires a focused microwave beam capable of destroying the creature's shields. Outside, the creature looks up and spots Vika and the others. They realize it is approaching and run, but Anne runs back upstairs with Natalie following. Natalie tries to close the door, but it won't shut. Anne flips over a glass table and hides behind it. Sergei fires the weapon, destroying the creature's shield and revealing the alien controlling it. He tries to fire again, but the weapon fails and Sergei is pulled in and disintegrated. Sean calls out to the women. Natalie calls Anne, who is stuck behind the table. Anne's leg cramps, and as she tries to run, the creature grabs her. She escapes through a window with Sean's help and rejoins Vika. Outside, they encounter a 4-person resistance unit fighting the creature. After being hit by an RPG, pieces of the creature's shield shatter, and it retreats. Sean takes a fragment and follows them to a shelter. One of the soldiers says they can stay and train, but Ben insists they must leave. The leader warns them it is impossible and shows the distance on a map. As they prepare to leave, the leader changes his mind and joins them, saying the subway is their best chance. The team throws several lights onto the floor and waits until they activate, then runs toward the tracks. Vika is delayed and hides behind a pillar. The creature throws a metal bucket at her. Ben runs to help, but his leg is caught and he is dragged away and disintegrated. The next morning, they find a boat. Sean sits in silence as Natalie approaches, and he tells her about his childhood with Ben. The boat hits something, and they see aliens harvesting the city. They spot a submarine, but a nearby building collapses, flipping it over. Sean searches for Natalie but cannot find her. A submarine officer explains that he has orders to depart even without refugees. Someone spots a flare in the distance. Sean knows it is Natalie. He begs the officer not to go, only to delay departure, and eventually the officer agrees. One of the officers builds a new microwave weapon. Vika explains that they can destroy the aliens' shields with it, but killing them requires greater power. At the train tracks, Sean finds Natalie's bag and calls for her. His weapon fails as a creature appears. He struggles to fix it and falls. Once it works, he fires, revealing the alien inside, and continues shooting until it shatters completely. Sean notices a water tanker and explains that shooting it with microwaves will cause a chain reaction. The creature refuses to approach the water. Vika throws a Molotov from behind, pushing it into the water. 3 creatures become visible, and they open fire. Sean searches for Natalie and enters a bus, but the creature's presence causes the doors to close and the bus begins moving. Sean and Natalie are trapped inside with the creature. Natalie's leg is grabbed, but she holds on. Sean fires the microwave weapon while Natalie tries to drive the bus. The weapon eventually runs out of power. Sean throws the shield fragment, destroying the creature. The bus slows and stops. Sean and Natalie reunite with the others and return to the submarine. The resistance group does not join them. Natalie reads a message from her mother and is overjoyed. She and Sean almost kiss, but Vika feels uncomfortable and puts on her headset. Sean and Natalie sit together, smiling, as the submarine departs, leaving behind a devastated Moscow now being harvested by aliens.